Frumess talks about Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Let's all talk about Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
So this movie is called At the End of Eight. And this was another thing that popped up on Prime. The only time I watch trailers is when I am forced to at the movie theater. Otherwise, I'm going in blind, apart from whatever the synopsis reads. Yeah, that's typically true, man. Like sometimes I got to watch the trailers at Alamo Drafthouse, but I will absolutely avoid trailers if I can. I want to go into any movie I've never seen before. I want to be utterly, utterly surprised when I see it. I don't want to know anything about it. I want you to just thrill me or surprise me or make me laugh or shock me in some way, shape, or form, especially if it's horror, right? If it's comedy or something else, I don't mind as much. But horror films, I don't want to know anything. Do not tell me a thing, okay? IMDb lists the budget of this film, this micro-budget film, at $4,500. And I'll tell you something. You can feel it. What do I mean by that? I mean, there are some movies, again, like one of the greatest micro-budget movies ever made is The Battery. It was made for $6,000. And I'll tell you, that movie does not feel like it was made for $6,000. That movie feels like it has tens of thousands of dollars thrown at the screen, potentially. You know, it's two people in a, outdoor setting, but it just feels so much bigger than the budget size. This, on the other hand, because of certain, aesthetics, because of certain, shortcomings in the quality of the film, you can feel the $4,500. But listen, I love watching micro budget stuff because I like to compare and contrast with my own micro budget work, as I wrote here. I like to see how filmmakers execute creativity with limited resources, because it gets me charged up. It makes me want to go out there and make movies. And I'll tell you something, for the first half of this movie, again, it was like the first half syndrome. For the first half of this movie, I was charged up. Yes, there were some things that, like, you have to excuse certain things when you're watching micro budget films. And I was able to, there's a lot of stuff I was able to put aside and just I was in the story. It strung me along. This is what I wrote. The filmmaker really manages to set up a pretty good people in a house, single location story. So people in a house story is where, especially if you're making a micro budget film, typically you want to try and tell a story in a single location. They call it, it's like two people, single location stories. These are the easiest stories to tell from a filmmaking micro budget perspective. They're easy, the fewer locations and the fewer actors you have, the easier it is to execute. However, it also potentially can be very boring. In the case of At the End of Eight, they actually made it, I was quite compelled trying to figure out what was going on initially. I wrote, the director also keeps things interesting in the first half of the slow burn that doesn't pay off when things speed up in a direction I didn't want the story to go. So it's a slow burn, meaning that the story is slowly unwinding, and then we hit this point where everything kind of speeds up. There's this event that occurs, and it changes the tone and the feel and the energy of the story. And then the story moves in a direction that I just did not want it to go. I was like, nope, this is not working for me at all. I started to feel a little let down. I'm not going to lie. It kind of let me down. I was not happy. There was just like so many other places my imagination went to, and I'm going, why? The plot is basically a bunch of, it's three people in a house. And they have to stay there for 8 hours to get $10,000 each. It's a game that they play. It's a pretty good excuse to keep people in a house, but it just didn't work, man. So the reveal had me very curious initially, but it left me underwhelmed, which in today's age is problematic. And let me say that again. The reveal, so what ended up being in the movie, had me very curious initially, but it eventually left me underwhelmed, which in today's age is problematic. Sorry, I wrote this wrong. What I meant to say is additionally, it was also problematic and handled without nuance or sensitivity. So it was doing this, sort of, it was dealing with someone I don't know how to talk about this stuff anymore. I don't know if the individual was gender fluid or if the individual was a transvestite or what. It was some sort of thing like that. It was very evocative of Psycho in that kind of way, or Dress to Kill. And it, but the material, but that sort of stuff, it was not handled sensitively with nuance, and I feel that it suffered greatly for that. It almost could have worked if such consideration had been applied. There was a Billy Loomis from Scream meets Psycho and Dress to Kill vibe, which makes sense because De Palma loves Hitchcock, and it was trying to muster this. The bottom line is that the first half of the film doesn't feel like it was made by the same director who made the second half of the film. That's true as well. So, I don't know, man. Everybody should go check it out if you want to watch something that's micro budget. It's on Amazon Prime, but I'm warning you, it's definitely it's a little blunt. It's a little insensitive, and it just doesn't handle its characters with the care that I guess they deserve. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Like I said, it's streaming on Prime if you want to check it out. And again, anybody who makes a film and completes it, especially for a sum of $4,500, that is a feat in and of itself. It's an amazing.